Welcome, 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 Miracle Makers. It's Dr. Sarah Larsen, and today we're on with one of my favorite people to speak with and speak about as well. Every moment that we're given during this post-COVID-19 world, it looks so different from the world we were expecting during this time. If you were a miracle maker, in January, you were already ready for this. And we are getting you ready for the new world that is connecting and being co-created. It's amazing the work and there's so much I could say about Robert Quicksilver. And he said, when you're introducing me, please just remember to keep it to a minimum. And he's such an incredible, once you've been to Conscious Life Expo and you experience it and you experience the team at Conscious Life and all of the energy that moves through, there's a real sense of there's something greater than yourself that's coming through you just attending or participating or watching it. And Robert, I don't know exactly the best way to introduce you, so I'd love for you to introduce yourself. And my hope is that you will share the breadth of the scope of who you are today.
Oh my God. Are you sure about that?
Absolutely.
So here's what comes to mind, because I was thinking about it during the day that you would ask that question, and so I thought to have like a flippant answer, something, nice few words, but then I decided that no, I would just like really tell you like what's true, not be flippant and just, okay, so here's what came into my mind. I want to talk about religion. And I didn't really realize this until, I'm older now, until recently, but I was trained in I was brought up in an Orthodox Jewish household and went to Orthodox school in Brooklyn, in New York, where the kids wore all the kind of things around the ears and all day tallis stuff. It was very Orthodox and ultra Orthodox. And so I was brought up inside that environment. When I went off to high school, I didn't go to the appropriate high school. I just had enough of that, I guess. And in ninth grade, I went off to high school, and I didn't even know there were other religions. Believe this or not, I really didn't know. I know that sounds naive, and I guess I did know, but it was like always the other, being very rigidly conforming to my social environment, my family, very Orthodox. So the first thing I started doing when I got to high school is I started reading about Christianity. And it was really like a mind blower, really, to see that God had manifested in a lot of different ways besides for the traditional ways that I had understood. I started read the New Testament. I just did this on my own. And I didn't really become a Christian, but I just kind of saw that my own background in my Jewish religion was just religion was only part of it. There were a lot of people who were, were Christian. Believe it or not, that really wasn't obvious to me growing up in a little ghetto of where I grew up in. Whatever. I don't mean that in a negative way, And anyway, but through high school and then into college, I started reading about yoga. So it goes on. And then after high school, after college and stuff, I actually joined a church and became a minister in a church. It was a new age kind of church. It was non-denominational, but it was called a church, and I was ordained as a minister. And and I had experiences with Jesus, and took him and it as the real deal. Really, hard for Jewish people to say that, but I was, it's okay with me. One day, I remember it was like where was it? This was after college somewhere, and I just had an experience like of him, so what can you say?
What can you say?
Pretty
It's
awesome.
beautiful. I think
Yeah.
a lot of people grow up in their tiny community, find, wow, this isn't the only community. And they, with their whole heart, begin discovering. And that's what I hear you saying. And the church was called Gentle Brothers and Sisters.
Right, it was called the Church of Gentle Brothers and Sisters, and that's where I was ordained with the name Quicksilver. Because when you became a minister in the church, we all got new names, and actually those are all still my friends in the world. My wife was in the church, and my children became ministers in the church, and so it's not like it's like a churchy thing. It's just part of a group of consciousness.
And that was in the,
It's an internet group more now than anything. It's not like we hang out or do anything.
and that was in the 70s.
That was in the 70s, right? I met the group in 1975.
In 1975. And so there are the cutest pictures of your children. And there are pictures that you have of wrapped in Buddhist garb and wrapped.
Well, that was simultaneously at the very same time well, just right after that, actually, because those pictures had to be the early 80s. I became involved with, I went back to graduate school and started studying Eastern philosophy and Eastern spirituality. So I met a whole new community of individuals, the teachers and the people who went to that school became like my, I kind of, whatever in the personal side, it was like a whole new life was born through the church and then going back to school. Anyway, so when I went back to the Institute, it was it was called the Institute of Asian Studies then, and now it's called the Institute of Integral Studies in San Francisco. Anyway, I met individuals there. Particularly, I met one person who came, was a Buddhist nun who came from Burma, young woman on nun's gear, and I was working at the school at the time, and I went with my friend to go pick her up at the airport. It was just something, you go pick someone up at the airport. I had no idea who it was. Turns out that I became like very close to this person and became a monk. Well, she didn't do that, but she, in the Buddhist traditions, it's very male-dominated tradition. Well, it's all about monks. Nuns kind of are, okay, but like it's the monks. So the tradition that she brought was very powerful. Forest meditation, forest tradition in the Theravada tradition. Okay, whatever, pretty specific. And anyway, so a few years later, she brought her teacher, who was like an 80 or 90-year-old liberated saint. What else I don't know how to describe. These are individuals who spent their entire lives in caves meditating and praying. We don't meet people like this. So I was very lucky to have been involved when we created the monastery, because the monks who we brought from Burma they can't live in a regular household. They can only live in a monastery. So first we had to create a monastery before we could bring her teachers here. So what we did. Anyway, so I became ordained in the Buddhist tradition, and simultaneously at the Institute of Asian Studies, I had studied all the different Hindu traditions also, which was like a lot of fun, and it was just a lot of fun. And, Hindus have a lot of party. They have a lot of really different than the Buddhists, very serious. You're going to sit, and sit and do your Zen or do your whatever, but the Hindus, they're out partying. They're having a good time. So anyway, so it's very curious. Anyway, so I feel like I kind of became absorbed and became true to, or those three.
So you integrated a lot of different faiths, the Judaism, the Orthodox, and then Christianity, and then building into the Gentle Brothers and Sisters, then yoga and Hinduism, and then Buddhism, and you've brought us to the 80s and in the 90s.
Well, no, but there's one thing I didn't say. I never really, I never came in contact with really a Muslim tradition, curiously. And, I never did, except, I meet few people who are, but I've never really kind of became involved with it as a faith, the way I really did become involved with those other,
Faiths. Yeah.
even the Hindu stuff with all, all the
Where are you now
goddesses.
with your faith? Where are you now?
Um, well, that's a fair question, because if someone would have asked me, what's your religion? I don't know. I don't really have a religion. I don't really have a religion. It's all kind of the same, when you look at the light coming from Lord Buddha, or the light coming from Christ, or even the light that maybe Moses pointed to on the mountain, whatever, somehow that's the same, got to be the same thing. Just obviously the same thing. And so it's really just kind of a reorienting of your life towards living in spirit and not in a cultural breakdown. It's just kind of a higher level. It's all the religions. Think of it as a mountaintop, and like as a mountain, and going on the bottom of the mountain, there's a lot of paths going all which ways you get as it goes. The mountain goes up towards the top. Finally, it's all one mountain and one path.
One mountain, one path. And it's interesting because there's a part of my heart that beats fast when I share this part about myself. I was born Muslim, and I had
That's why I was saying that.
Right. I had an arranged marriage early on, and everything I wasn't allowed to do was labeled, it's because you're Muslim or born in Pakistan, or everything that I wasn't allowed to do. And I grew up in Pakistan up until a young age. And then I was brought to the United States, and I had a very deep connection with my grandmother and the elements and the elementals, and not necessarily a practice that was given, although my parents and my grandparents would call Pakistan, much of Pakistan, India most of the time. My grandfather fought Hitler, and the process that they were part of was really in service. There was never religion as a specific practice fully, although my grandmother wrote poetry, read poetry to us, organized schools, and did a lot within the community. My parents later on, after 9/11, wanted to make sure there were real representatives. They felt it was really important to come forward and share and practice more. For me, I was prejudiced against anyone of the faith, as I was terrified and petrified and of the Muslim practicing and being part of it, because every negative experience had been labeled with that. And then at some point in my life, for the Aetherius Society and for and I'd studied world religion and practiced many faiths all along the way, and even became early on a minister of all faiths. It was when the Aetherius Society, about 10 years ago, needed someone of the Muslim faith to come represent on the top of a 50th anniversary thing. And then I did it maybe 5 consecutive years in a row, and I made peace with Islam while having established and connected with and practicing and truly believing in the pearls of wisdom from every faith. I still, though, carried the prejudice for a long, long time.
It's
and
tough stuff.
it's tough. It's I'm utterly grateful to have had the way that I experience it now is it really put me on a path of peace, of considering wellness, and I experience it in many different dimensions now. all faiths. I can see it through the lens of science. I can see it through the lens of love is, and I would define love as my religion. And I would define service as the practice of that love, and embodying the miracles, embodying the miracle that can come through. So I would not change any part of the journey. And I feel like because I was hesitant to share it, especially the part around not being objective for a long time with that particular faith. I love coming full circle to say, oh my gosh, I love any any scientific lens. And what I mean by scientific, where you can witness miracles coming through. And in in faith, in every faith, people that practice with love and with service, with whatever they believe over and over again. I call it evidential channeling or evidence, right? Evidential, where the channel of the miracle frequency came through. And that's what I love about Conscious Life Expo and the work that you're doing. You went from those traditions to building pyramids during that time and doing carpentry and having a learning, always staying in the learner mode, and then also building so much. And you came into going from building cabinets, pyramids, display cases, being a great resource in the physical world, to then creating conferences that brought the best, I would say, scientific minds, co-creators of reality, those that knew and know how to harness the vibration, the best activation and vibration energy. And you opened up for me personally a galactic conversation. There were always ways to see myself as a galactic, right? A human being, but to take it to the next level and start connecting and hearing from those that had communication with and connection at a deep level with what they would call UFO experiences, as well as Heart Math Institute, the science of the heart, and Dean Martin and or Howard Martin being part of early parts of that, the Celestine prophecies, Damian Brinkley, all of your friends you brought forward to share them with the community for the past 18 years.
Well, I don't take it it's not like, I think that it wasn't really, this is going to sound weird, but it wasn't really me. It's really true that I felt like, I was really just not even a channel. I was just like an instrument for an instrument. I don't mean to belittle it in any way, because I'm really into it and I work like hard to do it. But I was I feel like when it's a little out there, but like before the expo, I feel like anyway, after the expo, I feel like certain entities leave. The guys who kind of did put it together. It's really more than what it's kind of a big thing, and it's a lot on a certain level of consciousness. It's kind of like it does something on a certain level of consciousness that it's not that I could have kind of figured it out like a crossword puzzle. That's like it's way beyond my sense of an. So I feel like the guides and the guides that help us go through our evolution and helping transform the planet. I feel like they use this and me, little kid from Brooklyn, as a kind of as an agent to accomplish that purpose. I don't really take it personally anyway.
as an agent to evolve this purpose. When we were talking earlier today, we were talking about the Conscious Life Expo mission. You live in an evolving world, in an orgasmic nuclear dance consciousness, right? Everything is changing, evolving, transforming. Wise men and women throughout history have tried to define the nature of reality in which they found themselves. Mirrored models that mirrored models have existed. Most have fallen into the historical garbage heap. Others cling by threads. We, these generations, especially you,
Something.
are creating a new model.
Right.
Is figuring it out, and is it all figured out and defined? No. Do you have some of the elements of what this future model might look like? Yes. The primary intention of Conscious Life Expo and Conscious Life Expo conference and exposition is to participate in the conscious co-creation of a new world, a world based on new paradigms in science and spirituality, in longevity, in local and global community, in relationship, in health and well-being. And while we co-create these new holistic models through our authentic self-expression, we also participate in a powerful and passionate celebration of life and love. That's so beautiful. How long ago was that written? When was that written?
I don't know. I 5 or 10 years ago.
5 or 10 years ago. And I find the powerful, passionate celebration of life. And every time, every meeting every time it's been organized, I've had a shift in my connection to science, in my own personal journey in spirituality and longevity, and how to be of service to the local and global community. This last one had people from China, from Europe, Romania, so many, South America, a huge Latina presence there as well. And so
it's a worldwide thing, the transformation of the planet. It's not just like California, it's like everywhere.
Transformation.
As you say that about the transformation and like, do we know what it looks like? Well, we didn't know that this COVID-19 stuff was going to change the entire nature of our reality. So here things are changing. So I think the question is, in the reality at hand, how does like the current force, because we have, the question is there's not like a God that manipulates things, but there is some kind of evolution of some kind and transformation. Something's going on. So how does this help create a transformed planet where there's more peace and love and less hunger and pain and suffering? So how has this become one of the things that transforms the planet into the future positive vision that we all are sharing? And I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the answer to that. And, wearing masks around, I don't think that's the answer to it. So I don't know. So I don't know how, but I have to assume, and I believe, and I think the faith, we have to have it as the foundation of our faith, that this is still in the hand of God in some way, and that it's meant for like the transformation of the planet. I think it's like a one directional thing. We're going up and up and up. And, I don't think there's like anything else, but it's not so simple and obvious to us as humans, without all this suffering. I wish he could have figured out how to transform the planet without all these people dying. That would have been very cool, but here we are. So
here we are, a core belief.
So I think that's the important conversation, though, is what's for, because like in terms of spirituality and religion. Okay, let's say all the world's religions, they're all kind of okay, let people have whatever religious experience they want to have. But I think we've come to a place where we understand that this is something higher than that or more inclusive that includes all. Okay, so we're looking for not a new religion, but then now there's science, and we look at science as a religion. Science in some way has become the new religion. But at the same time, we can't only have a scientific worldview. What about like love doesn't really, or morality and ethics, that doesn't really fit into a science, science doesn't really talk about that. That's, so even though science has become the new religion, it doesn't really satisfy the human condition either. So there's something else that's growing out there, some new realization that that we're in the middle of, and that's the same copy that you read before. We're just in the middle of, do we have it figured out? No. Well, do we know some of the parts? Yeah. So here we are, and I'm just looking at how this COVID thing, how is it going to lead towards transformation of the planet in a positive way, not in a kind of fear-based way, but what, and
that fear-based way. I love that we're going to bring messages through of what is coming forward and what we're looking at soon. My core belief on love is, or religion, I believe just like the planet, like gravity, there are laws of the universe that are now scientifically showing there's something greater than us. And I fully believe that it's our words and our mind's eye, the visions that we're holding with, and like the work of Lynn McTaggart, the formation of 8 people getting together and holding a particular vision and breaking bread even, right? 2 of like mind getting together, 2 people getting together, having the same feelings, using their senses, holding a vision. And I think that's why Conscious Life Expo and groups like Miracle Makers getting together with the highest of intentions creates that there are as many realities possible as there are people. And literally the way that each person sees reality is different for each individual, which I love about your story. The whole time you were being raised, there was this incredible other world around you. As I was being raised, this other world. And as we went into it with teenagers, with curiosity and wonderment and amazement, exploring it with knowing that we might have had a bias, right? Because we're moving away from the values of our parents for the moment to figure out who we actually are, to define ourselves, the individualization process that happens when you go into your teen years. And it's so beautiful because right now I feel the experience of COVID-19, this world that we're living in, is like the teenage years. Yeah, for each person, I think they're really examining what their parent or what the views of the governing body was, whether it's about religion or what your service is, what you're here to do, what your purpose is, or whether it's how you problem solve. And that's what I love about that, Robert, like watching you put together the conference and experiencing how every detail it really stems from this. You set the intention and then something greater comes in, and everyone is holding breath by breath that intention, because you can create the container for the vision of what will come to pass in Conscious Life Expo for 18 years of microcosm. And as we're now in this space where everyone's like wondering what comes next, what are we going to experience next, the collective consciousness is awakened to the possibility of so many ideas, so many realities, so many possibilities. So if we start moving to that part next, what do you see happening in your own conversations with the people that you're talking with? What are you experiencing?
With regard to,
With regard to what's happening, what's coming next?
well, I was saying just before, I think that no one thought this was going to happen. So I have no idea what's going to happen next. I really don't. I'm looking for, in the context of the Expo, which is in February, on a mundane level, I have to figure out, certainly 10,000 people aren't going to come and fill the conference rooms like they had in the previous years. I think I wouldn't go do that and sit in a room with 300 people, so I can't expect that at all. So obviously it's going to move towards, the whole world is going to move much more towards a digital environment, obviously, kind of building up towards that. So I couldn't have predicted that it was going to be like this, right? So I don't really know. I think the only thing we can really do, I think, is not that it's not in our control. It's not in our control to the extent that we can bring consciousness and love into the present moment. I think that's the extent of our responsibility, is to be present, to be present with a kind of, I mean it in a meditative kind of presence, to be like alert and present, walking down the street or just running to the car or whatever it might be, just having that additional layer of self-reflection, self-awareness, and then really try consciously as all the time, as in any situation where it is, to just bring love into that situation. And I think that's the really, between paying attention and being alert, staying conscious, and starting to bring love into the moment. I don't know, that's as much as like I could figure out, really. And the rest of it is just you sit down and you sit with the paper and stuff comes out, you still got to do everyday life, and things evolve, but they evolve out of a foundation of consciousness and compassion. And I think that's like, so whatever comes out of that, and mistakes come out of that, for example, for me, I try to do that, but I make a lot of mistakes and whatever it might be, and, in a normal way of things. But I still fall back to that. And I'm satisfied that if I go through life developing awareness and compassion, I think that's like, I think the Creator will be happy with that. I don't know.
The Creator will be happy with that. That's so, so beautiful. And so, again, it brings in the most humble aspect of you from that space of breath by breath, moment by moment, being in the moment and not seeking to be somewhere else or in a different process, right?
Tough. I mean, I just go to sleep like for 20 hours in a row.
It's amazing, because I believe your body is a vessel, and this vessel that you have is an organism that feeds you, that heals you, that reveals nature's mysteries to you, right? That wellness, your wellness can save the planet. The more present you are, all healing for your physical body, all consciousness happens in the present moment. And of course, we have to plan out the future from the space.
I don't know. I never, my plans, like I write down plans. Okay, I want this a year, and I read back on it 5 years later. That happened, I mean, it's not, I don't know. It doesn't, I don't know. I've never been successful with like 5-year plans, except to like just work every day, and try to bring these qualities into the day-to-day moment, and work hard and try to be smart and intelligent, and whatever you got to do to kind of
Bring that forward. For me, I have visions. I catch I catch visions, and I catch different timelines. And it's so extraordinary. Robert, you read palms as well. I remember, right? I remember us sitting after one of the expos had completed. It was like Monday in the afternoon. Everyone was headed, and we sat and we
I
had that
remember that.
exchange.
That's how when we met that day. I remember that.
Yeah, it was so extraordinary to see what was in your hands and then to have you share what was in mine. And I really do believe from each moment and each person, the intention that you're holding, literally you can see lines changing in hands from moment to moment. If you let something go, you also read cards, and you also bring forth the mystery school teachings. And that's how I would label them. The practices that were done with the Gentle Brother and Sisterhood Church, and the practices done all along the way, again, really to be of service and bringing the mystery arts, controlling the breath. What are some of the more things that you've seen that help you really know the the love of God, source, the universe, however a person might label their relationship to something greater than themselves?
Um, I don't know. What you said something right before. Ask that question again.
Sure. How would you, so in this current moment, how do you describe that relationship? And I'd love for you to share specifically, right, the things that you've seen as you've been growing your practice, the miracle frequency, like the miracles you've seen over time.
Well, well, I notwithstanding that bad things happen, they do. We have accidents or bad things happen in life. It's kind of what, and then we die finally. But I I I feel pretty lucky to have gotten to have found a pathway and a pathway of surrender to the divine. And like I say, and I remember one time this is when I was, it's not like I found it, it just found me. I was just some kid, and then it found me. I didn't like say, oh, I got to do this one. It found me. And one time it found me on a bus. I remember exactly. It came to mind just when you said that. I don't know why, but when I was I was in San Francisco a long time ago, 1977, right? Okay. I was on a bus I was working somewhere, I forget what it was. I was some little kid, and I was sitting on a bus going somewhere, and all of a sudden, I was just sitting there, and I don't know what I was doing, but I was just sitting on the bus, and all of a sudden, I've never shared this with anyone. I felt like the Divine Mother. And I don't know, kind of, what that means to you. I don't know, but there's the mother. It's her world, and she came. Somehow, I sat there for however numbers of minutes, and I just felt like she was holding me. Like I say, and I was there on the bus just crying, just like a crazy person. When it seemed me, they would have, called the psycho police or something, and so I go through the day, I feel like I'm being held. So, and I think, when I do work with people, when I'm reading them, and, I read people, I work with people and stuff. And that's really what I want to communicate to them, is that we get our the mental stuff gets in the way of like this profound or orgasmic relationship to creation, boom, here we are, this is, and like, and everything, all the other stuff, a little, comes and goes. At the same time, it's very painful, a lot of shit, and it's not like that's not true. It's true. It's very hard, really, to stay in a kind of a positive state. There's so much reason and it's seduction to kind of trip out. It's tough, and we get angry, and here we are. We're just human beings. It's what we do, and so I think the challenge, and then we just have to keep coming back to our breath. I think finding the breath is the most important thing a person can do, is finding their breath, and then and then in all the situations, you just come back to the breath. That's what I've learned, and I don't really have a lot of practice really with stuff, but except that just kind of keep finding the breath coming, and kind of brings me back into the moment. I know you didn't really ask that question.
That's so beautiful. I love the energy of being held by the mother. That was so beautiful. And being in, when we're in a vehicle or when we're in a bus or being driven, our mind gets into theta waves, and it allows for us to break dimensions. The waves that we have as children, the waves that the delta, the theta, the gamma waves come when we're deeply relaxed and allowing and are deeply connected to our breath and deeply surrendered. And so to experience the mother presence there and for me, I think I came back to the mysteries and the experiences after my grandmother passed away. And as I was recalling all of the profound wisdom that my grandmother had given me over the years, and all of the ways that I still wanted to connect, I turned my love and my sadness and my sort of desperation for staying connected to her and my grief into reading poems at Santa Monica Pier. And I started doing 1,000 readings in her honor. And in that period, in that time frame, all of the language that she taught me Arabic and Farsi and Hindi and Urdu, which are really, really similar. And she taught me how to read, and she taught me how to look at the world, that allowed the energy brain, my right brain, and my language brain to stay connected. And I think it's when you go into theta waves or delta wave, these higher sort of daydream waves, that Albert Einstein, when you study him and his work, he says it was daydreaming that allowed him, that wonderment that allowed him to catch the relativity theory,
Right.
and many of his theories. And so there was that direct connection to the divine, the direct learning of the energy world, I believe is always, always present for us. And it grows and grows and grows. How amazing is it, Robert, for you when you're with conscious, like when you're in these conversations or reading your poetry or creating your poetry?
Well, I mean, I mean, say I'm really not really out there, really. I mean,
This is only the third interview that I've known for you to give. The first one was on, I was so brilliant on exploring the human experience. And I remember you sharing that was the first interview you'd ever given.
right. And that poem the other night. Yeah, no, mostly I
The
just.
other night was the second, and so this is Robert's third interview.
Yeah, right. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I guess I don't know why, but I'm more shy than that. I work at stuff. I mean, I write a lot and I read a lot, but I'm trying to get out there a little more. Like in this example here with you, trying to kind of to open up a little bit and share a little bit, and maybe I'll try to publish some of the things that I've written, and I don't know, try to get out there with it a little bit.
getting out there with it a little bit. I love
Oh,
your poetry, and I've read some of it on Facebook Lives and in some of the miracle making classes.
oh,
And
sweet. Yeah,
your work,
nice.
which is so, so beautiful. And
Yeah, I love
I
I
wonder if
love
you have
poetry.
one right there
Oh,
that
I do.
you do. Okay, beautiful.
All
If
right, so you want it to be like I
and I would love for you to knock on your book and open it up, and
that's
that's
scary. No, that'd be scary. Some of the stuff is like a little too intimate. I'll go get it. Hold on.
okay, which is so, so fun. You are listening to and watching Dr. Sarah Larsen and Robert Quicksilver. Robert Quicksilver is the founder of Conscious Life Expo. Beautiful team that comes together to put that on. This is his
Okay,
third interview, and this
okay.
book.
All right, so can you see all the titles in this little booklet?
It's so beautiful. I think you're going to have to read it for us because some are
Okay,
on.
all right, okay. Um, okay, so we're talking about God a lot, right? Okay. Okay, you ready? So this is okay, we'll do this. And God was bored and said one day, I'll make myself into a cosmic play. I'll create all worlds of formless and form and place a beholder in the eye of the storm. Thus all worlds created by the Supreme and Holy One, and at the edge of the milky spiral, created he our brilliant sun. Then inside that sacred potential, dormant and alone, created he man, his cosmic eye, to recite his cosmic poem.
Hey, this cosmic poem.
It's kind of like that.
So
Why did he make this? Like, it's like he's, him and the her or whatever. Then just, on that level of deity, they're just, I don't know. This must be fun for them, I guess, or whatever level that those deities exist on. I don't know why else would they do this. The other, why else would they do this unless it's kind of for joy? They must be having joy. Okay, but there's one more I'm going to read here.
yes,
Okay, one more, and then I
please.
can get carried away with it. This one's called Breadcrumbs. It's a little devotional. Okay. It's called Breadcrumbs.
Breadcrumbs.
Thank you for letting me do this, Sarah. I really appreciate it. I am a breadcrumb on the table of the Lord. I am the bowl from which he eats. I am the soup of life he feasts on. He lives in me, I live in him. I am the table which he sits at. I am the chair upon which he sits. I am the ground where his foot rests. I am the dirt beneath his feet. I am the sky where his sun moves. I am the sun. I am the moon. I am his lungs and heart and eyeballs. I am his breath. He is my life. I think his thoughts. I feel his feelings. I smell his smells. I touch his skin. I drink blood. He eats my pain and fear. He thinks my thoughts. I am his life. We are lovers chained as one. He lives in me. I live in him.
I live in him. We are breadcrumbs. We
I
are
love that poem.
breadcrumbs. That's so, so beautiful. Thank you, Robert, for coming on with Miracle Makers Academy. I'm going to share the screen right here. For those that are part of our incredible community on Facebook, we've got Miracle Makers Academy. And let's see if I can share the screen and just share with you. We bring to you every day of the week. We have a little something going on. And right here is Miracle Makers. Let's share this screen. And then we're going to take it to Conscious Life Expo as well. This is Miracle Makers Academy. our vision with the Academy is to make the world for 100% of humanity in the shortest possible time through spontaneous cooperation without ecological offense or disadvantage of anyone. Those are our Buckminster Fuller's words. And then we've got, we believe the first best decision you can make is to remake yourself. And your body remakes itself, and so does everything in nature. You are unique and able to have foresight to see your future, to know and manifest what you want. What is it that makes you feel alive, experience deep love, and feel pure joy? Living into potential is what we call the miracle maker's frequency. You can have access to this incredible energy. It's always available, but we love for you to join us within the Academy. And there's the guided meditation. You sign up right there to get meditations and updates. And then, of course, there are the different membership levels. And so it's such a gift to be able to share this with you. And I know, I think Robert is still with us, baby. Greg, are you with us? Yeah.
I am with you. Yes, my love.
Good. And I think, did we lose Robert right there?
Looks like he moved off. Yeah.
Moved off. Okay, we are going to get Robert back on, and we are going to jump into the Q&A portion of the questions and answers for each individual that calls in and connects in with the Zoom. We are so excited and grateful for Robert Quicksilver. I want to show you the Conscious Life Expo website as well. So this is one of the incredible, this year, Russell Brand, baby, who are some of the speakers that you were excited that were, I mean, Drumvalo Melchizedek was part of the experience. And over the years, all of Nassim Haramein's work, which is so beautifully featured there, Greg Braden, Joe Dispenza, Barbara Marks Hubbard was honored this year. Baby, who are some of the speakers that you saw? And I loved seeing the author of Celestine Prophecies. This year, that was an incredible gift to be with James Redfield, and always Damian Brinkley, such a gift.
Matt Kahn comes to mind. Matt Kahn was there. I don't know. You mentioned quite a few of them right there. Those are definitely the luminaries that made a great impact there. Shared great information.
And so
transformative information.
Transformative information. I think you're seeing my screen now, and this is what we're, you can of course stream Conscious Life Expo on Gaia TV right now. Any of these speakers that you're seeing here, David Wolf, of course, and Susan Miller, and Kimberly Meredith, James Redfield, so beautiful to sign up for the updates here as well. And Miracle Makers and Conscious Life Expo are coming together to bring you conscious life media. You can already watch us on YouTube. There's a whole place there. There's Damian Brinkley, Lisa Garr, so beautiful. There's Drumvalo right there in that experience. And so let me stop the share, and we are going to sign off from here, Facebook family. We will see you individually in the group within Zoom. There should be a link for you to join us. Baby, thank you so much.
Thank you, love.